to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. Of course, in this edition, we'll be talking about Tottenham's win here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs 4, West Ham United 1. We are live on YouTube, we're live on X, and we're also live on Facebook. So please do get involved. Tell us how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. As per usual, I've got three very special guests with me to talk about this great win here this afternoon. We have got Ricky Champagne Norwood back with us. Ricky, how are you?
I am good, brother. I am good. I am buzzing. Great performance from the boys. The crowd was up. It was against West Ham, who always come with something. Doesn't matter their form. Doesn't matter how they're playing. Every time we play them, it's always a battle. So to beat them very convincingly, for them to lose their heads at the end, and for us to come out victorious, jumping, singing, laughing, and shouting, bruv. It's a beautiful day. And the sun is shining, mate. It's a beautiful day. Come on, you Spurs.
There is nothing better than having four people on this podcast all smiling. And I'll tell you what, it means a lot, because when we get a smile out of Craig Dearman, it means we've done something special. So, Craig, welcome back to the channel. How are you?
I'm all good. Yes. My resting miserable face is not miserable at the moment, but yeah, as I've said to you before, it does take. I'm not pleased easily. I'm not easily impressed, but that was an impressive second half. I thought we handled that game really well after going a goal down against a run of play, which we'll come on to. But I didn't actually think for 1 second in that game we weren't going to get back into it. I just had a feeling that it was just a bump in the road, and that's what it turned out to be. With an absolute blistering 10 or so minutes in that second half, we absolutely blew them away. So it was great to see. I thought the tactical change at half time was fantastic by Ange, which we'll discuss. And happy clapper here.
Happy clapper indeed. And also back with us all the way from Singapore is Dustin Lau. Dustin, great to have you here again with us. How are you?
It's great to be back for a regular season win. I've only been around for draws or, friendlies, so it's great to be back and finally to break my duck, Gareth Bale style.
I didn't know that, Dustin. Otherwise, I'd not have invited you on this show today.
But I've broken the duck now, right?
Well, it's great to have you here, Dustin. Let's start the show with you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game because, of course, Spurs did go 1-0 down. We came back into the game. We scored 4. It could have been so many more. But your overall thoughts on today's match?
So my overall thoughts on today's match was that I was a bit concerned about Porro's defending at first, primarily because that's where all the worries were coming from with Kudus on that side. But I think that having Son back after a rest, after he was injured, and you can see that when he has a chance to have a rest and actually come back fully fresh, you can see the chance creation come back. I think that we were heavy on chance creation on the left side today. So it was interesting in the second half when we took Maddison off, we actually had more balanced chance creation when Kulu came on, and he was actually creating more chances on the right versus when on the first half we were very much heavy on the left side for chance creation. So overall, happy to see that Ange ball is ticking along and we can take some progress from that.
Absolutely, Dustin. Well, after today's result, Tottenham Hotspur, at the time of recording, are up to 6th in the Premier League table. We have now played 8. We have 13 points. We have a goal difference of +9. As I've already mentioned, Tottenham Hotspur 4, West Ham United 1. Never get sick of me saying that. Kudus put them 1-0 up in the 18th minute. Kulusevski equalised in the 36th minute. Basuma put us 2-1 up in the 52nd minute. An own goal in the 55th minute. And then a Heung-min Son goal. Of course, he was back in the starting 11 today in the 60th minute. James Maddison, Udogie and Sarr with the assists respectively. The match facts and stats today: Spurs had 57.5% of the ball to West Ham's 42.5%. We had a staggering 22 shots to West Ham's 11. Shots on target, we had 7 to West Ham's 4. Shots off target, Spurs 9, West Ham 4. Block shots, Spurs 6, West Ham 3. Touches in the opposition box, Spurs with a staggering 40 touches to West Ham's 17. Goalkeeper saves, Spurs 2, West Ham 4. Aerial duels 1, Spurs 9, West Ham 5. Fouls, Spurs 10, West Ham 15. And corners, Spurs 13, West Ham United 5. A very dominant performance by Tottenham Hotspur in this 4-1 win. Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the game.
Bro, I thought it was a fantastic game. First and foremost, when we come up against West Ham, it is always a battle. Like, they've come off of a good win against Ipswich 4-1 in their last Premier League game, but they've had a bit of rocky form. They've got a new manager. I've got to say, I was supposed to be at my brother's house today, one of my brothers, and he's a West Ham supporter, and I was supposed to be there. Just, it didn't happen for various different reasons. But I think he's happy that I'm not there right now speaking about them. But to give them a little bit of credit, they have done some good business over the last couple of years. When they brought in Kudus, when they brought in Alvarez from Ajax, I'm a big Dutch football fan. So, I thought that was impressive. We were linked with Todibo as well as almost like the fourth centre half in our pack. And we missed out on him, and I felt that we missed out on him. But again, like if you saw his performance today, it wasn't that great. So they have done some good business. Every single time that they come and play us lot, we know what type of game we're going to get. We know that Antonio normally is rough and ready up front and is determined to score against us. It's probably the only game that he really kind of fires himself up to try and kind of get a win or a goal. So there was a lot going into today, regardless of form, especially in a London derby. But I felt that we controlled it. I felt that we were up for it. I felt that the hurt from Brighton, they wanted to set right. And even when we went a goal down today, like Craig said, against the run of play, but even when we went a goal down today, it was the reaction. It wasn't an emotional reaction. It was a very professional reaction. It was, again, what the boss has been asking for all season. Think about your next action. Think about your next action. If we concede, if we score, keep continuing to think about the next action. Do not let the last action affect your next action. And that's what I saw today. Kulu was absolutely dynamite. We were speaking about Eze in the summer coming in and potentially, giving competition to someone like Maddison and maybe even taking his spot. Well, we didn't pick up Eze, but Kulusevski has been absolutely dynamite. And I think that he's definitely bringing that competition for that number 10 spot. And it was lovely. It was fantastic to see him out there free, roaming, the little tricks, the flicks, the pace of him, the battle. He loves a battle. He loves to roll a defender. And seeing Sonny out there flying on the wing again is always a beautiful sight to see. We're an absolutely different side without Sonny. I love him to bits. And every time I see him smiling, I'm smiling too. So it was a fantastic game for me. Total domination, really. Yes, West Ham had some breaks. They had some opportunities. But I felt that we dealt with them pretty well. And, you saw how frustrated and emotional they got at the end by losing their heads and getting that red card, which was kind of like confusing to me that it took so long, confusing to me that they even went to VAR, because, hand in the face twice, forget the kicking on the floor, just a hand in the face twice, that should have just been a straight red card and we could have kicked on with the game. But here we are, boys. We finished with 11 on the field. We finished with the 4 goals. Could have been more. I thought Solanke played really well today. Hold up play, the way that he was finding his teammates on the overlap. And dribbling and battling as well. The whole side was on it today, and it was so good to see, especially against someone like West Ham that loves singing that song to us, but we got to sing it back and rub it in their faces a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So come on, you Spurs. Let's keep rolling, keep building, keep progressing, keep going on this trajectory. Hopefully this is the spark that we needed.
Sorry, can't help it. Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the game.
Ricky's covered it very succinctly there. Absolutely. I
can't believe I'm saying this. We're like 9 minutes into the podcast, and I feel like Ricky's done the whole lot.
Sorry.
I was gonna say you might as well roll the end credits because we're done.
It's because I'm in the diary room chair, bruv. I just felt like I had to get it out real quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, to completely echo everything Ricky said. I thought it was just an all-round good, solid team performance. There were some really good performances from players today. I thought Solanke, even though he didn't score, was his running and his work rate was brilliant. Great to see Son back. I thought he looked really sharp, because sometimes when players, certainly when they're coming towards the twilight of their career, they come back and takes them a few games to get into. I remember Harry Kane always looked a bit rusty when he was coming back from injury, but Son looked really, really sharp today. Looks like he's done him a world of good, not doing all the miles back to Korea. for the international break. So perhaps he needed that rest, and he's only going to get better, you would hope. So yeah, and Kulusevski, what a turnaround, and having him in the middle of the park, the tactical change at half time to move him a bit further forward. Definitely for me, our player of the season so far. Just a sensational performance again from him. Romero had a pretty solid game, a very solid game, in fact. So just all over the park. Again, it was just lovely to see. A bit like the Manchester United performance, where it was just an all-round good, solid team performance with nobody having a stinker. So it's just fantastic to see.
I completely agree with what you said there about very similar to the Manchester United performance. Dustin, let's come to you because you haven't been on for a while. Talk to me about the season so far, how impressed you have been in certain games. You know, like today, like that Manchester United away performance. That first half against Brighton, of course, we know the second half. We know what happened. It was very, very disappointing. But Spurs overall in, most parts of this season in games have played extremely well. And it is fair to say that we should be sitting here with so many more points.
Yeah, we should. I think if you look at a lot of the statistics as people put up when you count XG and things like that, and I know there are lots of people that don't believe in data, but many of the teams that do the best in the league have the best statistics for XG, pressures, and like pressure per defense, so per defensive action. So we have been scoring in the top 3 for most of these for the whole of the season. It's just that the results haven't necessarily played themselves out. But over the long run of the season, all the results will start reflecting the actions that we're taking to get ourselves into those positions. And I think that there have been some results that have been disappointing. The Brighton result was a bit of a gut punch because the first half was everything we heard Ange would be. And the second half was, if we had reversed the sequences and our second half had been what that first half was like, we'd be very encouraged. It was just that seeing both in the first game was such a huge contrast. I think that we are starting to pull things together and getting the results that our performances have deserved. I think Kulusevski has been a revelation this season, primarily because we're putting him in what he's always said was his preferred position. He has kind of like the strength to be like, he's got Moussa Dembele kind of strength to be holding up the ball in the middle of the park, but he's also got the vision to turn defenders around. Whenever he gets the ball and he's already on the go, he has the beating of his man and he has the right foot to cut it back in the midfield as well. So he's a player that basically allows us to create chances on both sides. And I think a big part of the reason Maddison was taken off early and Kulusevski pushed to the middle was so that we would have more chance creation equally on both sides of the field rather than only on the left side.
Ricky, all 3 of you have mentioned Dejan Kulusevski's performance today. Of course, he was given man of the match from TNT Sports today. Now, 29 out of 35 passes completed, 2 chances created, 4 passes into the final third, 3 out of 3 tackles won, 8 ball recoveries, 3 fouls won, of course, man of the match award. Talk to me about Dejan Kulusevski, this change in form, this change in position for him. It has done him the world of good, hasn't it?
I think so, man. I think so. I mean, when he was playing out on the right, especially last season, not when he first turned up, but especially last season, he was getting found out a lot. But his work rate, his effort, his battling nature, his determination to get up the field and to make something happen has always been there. We was having this debate last season about where is his best position and where do we think he could be most effective. And I continue to say, like, that number 10 position, that or that kind of hybrid of an 8-10 position could be dynamite for him. And the more he plays there, not only for a club but for country now as well, the more he plays there, the stronger he gets, the more effective he gets, the more confidence he gets, and we're seeing an absolutely fantastic player starting to develop. What I really loved about Kulu today was he had an interview right after the game, and basically he spoke about, there were certain things that went right today. And, when we play well, we're really hard to play against. But the first thing that he was speaking about was the improvements. We do need to improve on certain defending or certain aspects when we let them have the ball and stuff like that. So his brain, in every single interview I've ever seen him, I've been really impressed with the way that he speaks about his own game, but as well as the team game and going forward. He's always looking to improve. And when you look at that, when he's had a man of the match performance, the fact that the first things that he's saying is about improvements, I think is a fantastic sign. And I think if that spreads around the team as well, I think, you know, there's levels that we can jump up, because we know, you know, we've had great games before, but it's about levels. It's about that consistency. It's about continuing to take the good from this. So one of the goods, we conceded a goal. We didn't get emotional. We didn't get rash. We didn't start doing silly fouls and getting ourselves out of position and leaving gaps. We said, no. Okay, cool. We carry on playing the way that we were the first 20 minutes before that first goal was conceded. So these are positive signs. The fact that he wants to continue leveling up, I think is really, really positive. And I also think that this is just the beginning for Kulu. I mean, yes, he was he was outstanding today, right? But this is just the beginning. I think he's got levels to go. And I think the more that he plays in this position, the more that he's given the trust by Ange Postecoglou and the trust from around his teammates. You can see it. They love playing the ball into him because they know something is going to happen. They know he can hold it. They know that he can turn. They know that he can pass it off. They know that he can find a trick, a flick, or take a shot. Do you know what I mean? So they're starting to trust his effectiveness in that position too. So the trust is building. Their understanding between like Kulu and Solanke was really good as well. And the more those guys play together, the greater we can be. I think this is just the beginning of hopefully, fingers crossed, because we've seen it a couple of times, but hopefully this is the spark that we needed in a London derby to kind of go, right, boys, this is what we need to continue doing. This is what we need to continue doing. Keep improving, keep taking the good and working on that next moment, working on that next action, you know, and just kind of, it gives encouragement, bro. It gives encouragement to the philosophy. It gives encouragement to the boss's words. You know, when the boss spoke in his press conference, yes, he criticized that second half of Brighton, but he was also very adamant to go, let's look at the first half and how great he was in the first half. Yes, the second half was what took the shine off of it, but like, let's not forget the good things that we done. And they've taken the good things that we done and they've tried to eradicate some of the bad things that we done and continue moving forward. We never stopped today, and Kulu was the catalyst for that. That's the reason he didn't get taken off. Well, you know, a bit late, but that's the reason it was Maddison that got taken off at halftime and not him, because it continues to find space, continues to find pace, continues to battle, and continue to do what we need from a number 10 in that position. He's big, he's strong, you know what I mean? There's so much coming from Kulu, and he's only, what, 22? What is he, 23, Craig? I think you said last time.
I think so. Yep.
Still 23, man. So much to come. I know Brennan Johnson didn't score today, but I thought he was very impressive as well. It's not like because he didn't score, his confidence had dropped off. I felt that all of the shots that he took on, you know, showed me confidence. The runs and the calling for the ball showed me he still got his confidence and showed me he's an improved player. So we're getting there. We're bubbling. We're cooking, guys.
Happy Clappers Unite.
Come on.
I agree with everything you said there, Ricky. And of course, as per usual, you're on fire today. Craig, let's come to you on Ricky's point about Kulusevski. You know, he expects there is more to come. I feel there is a lot more to come from a lot of these players, from this squad, from Ange Postecoglou, from everyone involved. Doesn't that make it a lot more exciting? Because from what we've seen so far, although I said to Dustin about, you know, perhaps we should have picked up more points this season, we know where we can improve, and we know what, you know, certain players can bring, and we know that they can give that little bit more. Doesn't that make it more exciting?
Excuse me. Yes, it does. It does indeed. And I think I've always maintained that having healthy competition for players will push them on to actually go that extra yard. And you saw today, Ange, he's not scared of taking off big players. Maddison wasn't doing his job today, and he came off at half time. It was a brave call to replace Maddison with Sarr. Really was.
Absolutely. We'll come to that. Yeah.
Especially after he created the first goal of his assist and he took him off at halftime. Exactly. Very brave.
Exactly. But I think, you know, most people would probably agree. Look at Maddison today. He wasn't quite at the top of his game. Game bypassed him on occasion. I mean, it wasn't a terrible performance, but it just wasn't quite the levels that we'd expect. But to make that substitution for me was like I say, very brave, and it worked, because that second half, I'll tell you what, I would love to be compared to Cole Pilkington, because he's one of my heroes. I just love the fella. So thank you for that. I think I'll get a wig like Cole did when he was abroad.
I tell you what, I do love all these comments coming in, particularly after a win. They really do make me smile. So please keep them coming in, particularly aimed at Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, gives Chris a rest. Yeah, if you just abuse me. Can't remember what I was saying now, but no, absolutely. Not just Kulusevski. To see Solanke obviously get some more goals. I thought he was unlucky today. He was getting in some great positions. A couple of times the ball come across, a couple of ricochets, and it just didn't fall to him. It just wasn't his day. Same as Johnson. I thought Johnson had a good game today. Very unlucky. Should have probably done better with his header towards the end of the first half. Just hit his shoulder and went wide. Heading's not his strong point. But again, something for him to work on and something that he can improve on. If he can learn how to hit the ball better, then perhaps he can sneak in at the far post with some headers, from crosses. So a lot to come from this team. But I said it before, say it again. We've just got to keep this momentum up. A lot of games coming up in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks before the final. Thank Christ, the final international break before the last one till March, I believe. So thankfully, we're going to have 4 or 5 months unbroken football. So that would be great. But again, shame we didn't win at Brighton, because we would have been in the top 4, albeit just probably for a little while. But that's how close it is. Couple of wins, you're back up there.
Dustin, talking about the actual result, I know that we're all sitting here thinking that we perhaps should have scored, a lot more against West Ham today. But I feel like this has been coming. Battering certain teams. I feel like some teams are going to get an absolute battering from us this season. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that basically we have been pulling out the domination in terms of we're the most in the leagues for touches in the opposition box. We've been having something like 60% possession most of the games. We have been doing everything we can to dominate games. It's about the conversion of chances that we've been falling down on. So I think that it's one of those things where it's a trickle then a flood, and we have put ourselves in a position to dominate and completely destroy teams. We don't always do that, and sometimes when we miss our chances, the other team scores against the run of play, and then the game state changes. The other team can play more compact. They don't have to come out anymore. So I think a big part of why we haven't been getting results previously was because the other team might fluke a goal, and then they don't need to come out and play. They're not playing the way they would normally play, which would allow us to dominate them. So now that we have broken down the door and scored a few goals, we've seen that with certain teams, once we score the first goal and they need to come out and play against us, we're unplayable in those scenarios. And that allows us to use this tactic to dominate teams. But certain game states favor us and certain game states don't.
Now, just before we go to the starting 11, Ange Postecoglou in his press conference has just said the following about taking James Maddison off at half-time. And when of course, I'm still here at the stadium, a lot of people felt that it was to do with an injury, but it wasn't. He has confirmed that it was tactical. He said, I just felt that West Ham asked you certain questions in midfield areas, and I just felt that Pape Matar Sarr's running power would help us in the second half. They obviously worked hard in the first half, and I thought he could give us some real energy. I thought he could do really well, and he gave us that platform to really threaten every time we went forward and be clinical in our football. Ricky, let's come to you. We'll come on and talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But let's come to you. Let's talk to you about the starting 11 today. Ange Postecoglou made 2 changes from the Brighton game a couple of weeks ago before the international break. Bentancur out, Timo Werner out, Basuma in, Heung-min Son, of course, returned from injury. Richarlison was back on the bench. So the full starting 11 is as follows: Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Basuma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Johnson, Solanke and Son as captain. Sub-bench today: Forster, Dragushin, Gray, Bentancur, Sarr, Bergvall, Moore, Richarlison and Timo Werner. Ricky, your thoughts on the starting 11 and the couple of changes that Ange made?
I was excited about the starting 11. Firstly, always to see Sonny back with the captain's armband on, I was, put a smile on my face straight away. When I saw Basuma in there as well, look, we don't know what's going to happen with Bentancur and a suspension coming a bit later. So, Basuma needed to get in there and he needed to start playing himself. But I was actually really impressed with Basuma. I felt that he covered ground really well. I felt that he protected the back line and he drove that ball forward. He's that type of Postecoglou midfielder that the boss really loves, There was a great point where the ball was up in the air and he took it down and it was like it was like it landed on a cushion filled with feathers, bro. Do you know what I mean? It was such a beautiful touch. But his driving ability, the fact that he scored today as well, Basuma had a really good game. And again, that's another one that needs to continue to kind of check his levels and continue to improve on all of the good things that he's doing. Also highlight the things that sometimes go wrong. Sometimes he can step on the ball and lose it, or it can be a short pass. But I thought today he done really, really well in that midfield. And really drove that ball. He was, again, somebody who could be counted on today. So the fact that both Sonny and Basuma came in, I thought were good. I wanted to see what Basuma was going to bring. The one thing that I was a little bit disappointed with was the fact that Spence got, his new deal and he wasn't on the bench, at the very least. So I was kind of like, okay, all right. Okay. So I was a little bit disappointed about that. But, there's competition for places right now. Exactly what Craig said. There's competitions. And everybody's got to earn their spot. And, the brave decisions that the manager is making, risky decisions that he's making, are all kind of being proven right now. Nobody can rest on their laurels. Nobody can kind of hark back to their last performance and go, yeah, but I played well last week, but today you're not playing well, so you come off. Do you know what I mean? And we've wanted that for a long time. We've needed that for a long time. There's been too many seasons where we've relied on our starting 11. And if one of those starting 11 are out, then we don't know what to do, or we know it's going to be a bit of a dodgy game. So the fact that we've got these players that can come in and have an effect and kind of change the game in a tactical way, I think it's fantastic, bro. I think it's fantastic. So to see that starting lineup today, really, really happy. Really happy. To see Bergvall on the bench and see that he wasn't as injured as I thought he might have been during the internationals, again, positive. And to see a bustling bench, with Richarlison on it and Gray on it, and just have options on that bench, I think was a really, that was positive, bro. We're getting there. It's been a long time since we've had our team that have been fully fit, or we've had a fully fit squad to choose from. Do you know what I mean? To make those decisions. Who you got, Chris? I know you've got a special guest. Who you got?
I've got my good friend Paul here, and Paul actually predicted a 4-1 win before the game. So fair play. Paul,
Did you put some money on it, Paul?
I had some money on it, Ricky. Thank you very much.
Good.
The downside, I had my daughter with me, and as soon as it got to 4-1, she decided that she would cash out. So not as much as I would have wanted, but a great day out. Spurs played absolutely brilliantly. Kulu, for me, man of the match. So, yeah, a great result.
A great result indeed. Craig, let's come to you. Let's talk about the starting 11 still, because I wanted to say that last season, I think Ange Postecoglou changed it 27 times, if I remember rightly, the midfield trio. Do you think that he knows the best three, or do you think it is just all about squad rotation?
I think it's a little bit still about squad rotation. I think we've seen today that he will change it depending on the opposition. So people say he plays the same, he might play the same system. I don't think he kind of does. I think he just little tweaks here and there. So that midfield three, it could be two pushing forward than or holding two back, but they always have a number 10 in that regard. So I don't think he necessarily knows his best three in the middle. I thought that was probably, it's difficult. It's so difficult to split Bissouma and Bentancur, because Bentancur has been playing well. I thought Bissouma played well today. So when they're both really on it, it's difficult to split them two. Sarr come on and done brilliantly. So, but look, hey, it's great. absolutely great that there's no drop off when players come in. I think it's fantastic. And in answer to your question, I don't think he necessarily knows his best midfield three still. I think it's adapted depending on who we're playing.
Dustin, coming to you on the midfield three again. As Craig mentioned earlier, a massive call at half-time to take James Maddison off. Not many managers would do something like that or make such a big decision. I love that. I love the fact that he did that. And Bentancur dropping out today, Bissouma coming in. Would you agree with that? Who are your favourites?
I think similarly, I don't think it's a favourite. I think it's basically they all have different attributes. So you would want Maddison on if you're playing against a packed defence and you're looking to unlock and you're looking to create chances down the middle. You want Sa if you need to cover lots of ground, if there's lots of transitions in play, because he's got like the best engine of all of them. And also he has a habit of making late entrance to the box and sneaking in as well. So I think that the balance of who you have between Bentancur and Bissouma also depends on. Bissouma has great line breaking. He's a great carrier of the ball. He receives back to goal, and then it's so hard to get him off the ball. So I think that in certain circumstances, depending on how teams press, Bissouma is great against pressing teams, for example. Whereas Bentancur tends to play it safely. He's more conservative on the ball, so he's good for keeping possession ticking over versus line breaking. So I think that they're all good players and they all have attributes. And even against the same team, you might want to play a different combination of the midfield depending on what the game state is, on whether you're looking to break them down, you're looking to break lines, you're looking to keep possession or keep control of the game. So I think that it's good that we don't have an obvious first 11 midfield, because it means that we've got different combinations and different Legos of midfielders that we can put together in different combinations that fit a certain game state or a certain opponent or a certain style of play.
Dustin, let's stay with you because this is Ange Postecoglou's record now as Spurs boss. 52 games managed in competitive competition, 28 wins, 8 draws, 16 defeats. That is in 46 Premier League games, 2 League Cup, 2 FA Cup and 2 Europa League. Are you surprised that Ange Postecoglou has received the amount of criticism he has this season, particularly after the Brighton game?
I think criticism comes as a result of lack of patience, and the lack of patience sometimes comes from a systemic issue fans might have with the ownership versus any particular manager. It's just that a manager is a figurehead of the club that does a press conference every week that fans look at more visibly, and if they're frustrated with the owners about their perceived idea of whether the owners are backing the manager or buying players, and it's not like we haven't bought players. It's sometimes we haven't bought the right players. We've got Ndombele that's on our books, screwing off to countries and getting dropped by managers there as well, even though he still picks up trophies somehow. But I think that the frustration from the fans manifests towards the manager just because that's where fans have effectively gotten a manager fired before. We have gotten Gattuso dropped from consideration before. So it's where fans feel like they have power, and it doesn't always manifest in the ideal way, because what happens is that dropping the manager, especially if you have been buying players for the manager, as we have seen with the Conte and Mourinho era, you buy a whole bunch of players that now you have a lot of trouble shifting from your books because not everyone plays a 3 at the back system and stuff like that. So I think that what we're doing better now is that we are buying players that fit the manager system but are also good for the club. So even if we do change the manager for whatever reason, we're not going to change the entire style of the club for the new manager. We're going to find a manager that fits the players we bought. But with the manager that we have a philosophy that matters, a philosophy that has a vision and is consistent with winning the league. Because most of the managers that win the league play with a progressive style of football. They aren't playing with a soak and strike counter-attacking style. So if we want to win the league and if we want to be in the upper echelons of the league, we have a manager that has a style that's consistent with the kinds of points tallies you need to be putting up to be in those positions.
Ricky, I suppose I want to ask you a very similar question about Ange Postecoglou, because the run of games that we had where we were winning all the time, Brennan Johnson scoring in every game, And then 2 weeks ago, played extremely well in that first half against Brighton. Then, of course, we all know what happened in the second half. And then there was so much more criticism for Ange Postecoglou. How do you kind of say to some people, that it is all about patience, it is all about time? Because when we see this team clicking and when we see these players putting in a real shift, Ange Postecoglou's system really does work.
It really does, bro. And the thing is that what I would say is give more credit to when we do something good than giving credit to the negative. We've been hurt, we've been broken, we've been beaten, we've been battered. We've been thrown from pillar to post. Over the last couple of seasons, we've been the butt of so many jokes. Like we were saying about that song. I can't stand that song, right? But when we can get to sing it back, there's a great moment there. Do you know what I mean? When we can get to sing it back, it's a great moment. But look at all the things, and we know that we're in one of the most disliked teams in the league from a lot of different fan bases, not just London fan bases, a lot of different fan bases. We know the stick that we get on, certain media channels and stuff like that. And it just perpetuates the frustration and the hurt that we've had for years and years and years and years and years. And, those fans that feel that way, I totally get it. And I totally understand it. And I've been with you, and what you think and feel, it's there, it's true, but it's over a long period of time. This is a collective 20-year-old heavy backpack that we're carrying. And for someone like Ange that has come in, who is finally, for a long time, shifting so many things. We know when he came in, he had 101 things to sort out, plus Harry Kane leaving on the eve of the Premier League starting. He had 101 problems to deal with. And little bit by little bit, he is dealing with them. And that's where I talk about green shoots. That's why I talk about the positive. It's not being blinded by the positive. Yes, critique where critique is there. Or if there's something to say, absolutely say it. But you don't. What I'm trying to convey is that don't bring your 20 years worth of heavy bag carrying to Postecoglou's door. He's trying to change all of those things. He's trying to do things differently. He's trying to get us on the front foot. I remember when we were scared to play many a team. I remember when we done the low blocks, and I remember when we played, a lot of tiki-taka in our own half, in and around Hugo Lloris and stuff like that. And that was some nightmare fuel a lot of the time, But there is so much positive happening with Ange. I love the fact that he knows what type of club we are. I love the fact that he comes in with his eyes wide open. He knows the challenges that are there before him. He knows the stigmas that are around the media and that kind of perpetuate throughout interviews. That even that question he had in his press conference the other day, which was like, basically, do you think Tottenham's an impossible job? And he was like, well, if I felt that, why would I be here? I think that the question was cheeky. It's like, why would you ask a manager that question? Does he feel that the job that he's taken is an impossible job? Do you know what I mean? It's such a kind of leading negative headline and leading negative story, so that whoever asked that question can put out some type of negativity. Do you know what I mean? Or try and address this negativity. But I think it was a cheeky question. But the fact that he answered it the way he did was that made me feel happy with the way that he answered it. We all know what the dramas and the trials and the tribulations that we have, as a club. We all know the challenges that we face, and so does he. And he's not hiding away from them. He's not putting them to one side. He sees them. He looks them in the face and goes, okay, cool. This is how we're going to tackle it. Now, it might take a bit of time. Now, it might take a bit of patience. But he's asking for patience for him, not for the last 20 years, not for 25 years. He's asking for last season, this season, and fingers crossed the season after. Do you know what I mean? And you can see all the good that he is doing. He's doing so much. And when people talk about him not really having a plan B, I think that's kind of an easy kind of cop out, because when Dustin made some really great points about the midfield just there, and he's often said that sometimes the plan B is with personnel. So he'll bring on a Pat Matasar to shore it up, or to bring that energy, or to solidify it and just have a bit more protection so that Kulu can go forward and do what he does best. Do you know what I mean? That's a tactical sub that has worked today, you know, and that's what he does with the personnel. That depending on who he brings in, that's what changes the game. That's what changes the flow and the direction. As Dustin was talking there about Basuma and Bentancur, they're two different players, right? One breaks the line. One's a bit of a quarterback that is happy to be in tight areas and get out of those tight areas, yeah? But they're two different players that bring two different things to the Tottenham that we're seeing on the field. You know, what I love also about the boss is that he's heard all of these criticisms before. This is old news to him. I mean, Chris, you done a great interview with, I think his name was Vince, was it? The writer of his book.
Vince Rugari, and he said, Ricky, that he's seen it all before. He's seen it all before, and I love it. It kind of puts a big smile on my face because I think, okay, they've seen it all before, and Ange's been successful. And of course, all of us talking about Spurs right now, everyone watching today, you know, we all want Spurs to drive on, be successful, you know, under Ange. By the way, Ange just said that we blew West Ham United away today, which is you know, perfectly put. And I agree with everything you said, Ricky, today.
But you know, if you're going to climb a mountain, bro, you're going to hit sticky patches. You're going to hit patches where the rocks that you're clinging for to continue moving forward, you can't find. And you've got to go through rough patches. You've got to go through, you know, struggle. You've got to go through a moment of, are we going to make it? Shall I go back or shall I go forward? What are we going to do? But to continue moving forward to reach the pinnacle, you've got to go through rough patches. And that's what we're doing. And I believe that we're getting there. I believe that we're going in the right direction. I believe that our sat-nav is on point. Yes, we're going to hit a bump in the road, but we're on the right direction. It's just going to take a little time.
I can't believe Ricky's gone there with the sat-nav. Yeah, the sat-nav at Tottenham might be going well, but I don't know about yours, mate.
Just as long as it's not in Watford, we're fine.
Ricky, let's come to you. Sorry, Craig, let's come to you. After 6 minutes, Brennan Johnson had a shot, just went wide. And I felt today Spurs started the game very well. And, you know, you guys have mentioned the Manchester United game a couple of weeks ago, how we started that game really, really well. And I felt like we've done exactly the same today again. In the 11th minute, though, Vicario did have to make a good save, albeit it was fairly straight at him. But he did have to make a good save to tip it over the bar. Excellent footwork from Heung-min Son. Just wide of the post in the 15th minute, and then Kudus put West Ham United 1-0 up in the 19th minute. Craig, talk us through this goal, because it was a good opening spell from Spurs, but very disappointing to concede the opening goal of the game.
Yeah. I mean, this is not just Tottenham. You see this in games up and down the country where a team dominates and then the other team go up the other end and score a goal. So it's not just Tottenham this happens to. It wasn't brilliant defending. On the telly, that somebody said Porro was out of position. Johnson should have got back to Kudus. Probably a bit of both. Truth somewhere in the middle. But like I said at the start of the pod, I wasn't concerned that West Ham had scored. At no point did I think that we wouldn't get back into this game and go on to win, to be brutally honest, because of the way we'd started. This was just a small bump in the road. I never thought for 1 second West Ham were going to go on and get 2 or 3 goals today. It just didn't feel like one of those games, and that's exactly how it played out. But you could argue against better teams. We can't be gifting them goals, absolutely, but we're going to concede. You know, we can't go through a full season, as we well know, you're not going to concede goals. So we're going to get the odd 1 or 2 like this. But it was the strength of character and the character to come back into the game and almost think, right, okay, we conceded, we're just going to do our thing. And that's exactly what we did. We've never been excellent against playing against a low block. I thought we handled it really, really well today, however. West Ham did come out a little bit into the second half, which obviously let us get in behind them. But the response to that goal, I thought, was absolutely fantastic by the players.
Dustin, how are you feeling at that point when we went 1-0 down? Because I must admit, I felt very similar to Craig. I thought we're going to create loads of chances. We're going to have chances to score. We are going to score. We are going to go on to win the game. It's interesting how we've both felt like that. Did you feel like that as well?
Whenever we concede, I'm always kind of analyzing where it's broken down. So what I had noticed beforehand, and I had a few notes already, that Porro was getting sucked in by Kudus. So I think Porro struggles, especially when there's a proficient like dribbling winger on his end. And because he normally doesn't get much support or not as much defensive support from Johnson as you would from the other flank, I think that Porro can sometimes be kind of left out to dry just because of the way that we play. So if he gets sucked out of position there, that's kind of like what precipitates in the move, crossing over to the other flank. And then when the move crosses to the other flank, this is why I said previously in the Everton game we should be doing more of, which is like crossing flanks faster so that we can score goals on the other side. Because the teams do it against us all the time. They start on one flank, they cross to the other flank to pull all our defenders there. And then we've got, defenders and midfielders that don't always track their men when it goes back to the other flank. And that's actually where a lot of the goals that we've conceded have come from, which is all our defenders being put to one side and then opposition players coming in from the blind side that are untracked by our defenders, normally either Romero, Brennan Johnson or Porro.
Dustin, let's stay with you because in the 23rd minute, Tottenham had another chance created by Maddison to the back post. But it was headed away. It was aimed at Brennan Johnson. 3 minutes later, Son on the right, his shot was deflected. A couple of minutes later, shot from the right, a cross from the right again. Brennan Johnson headed just wide. What did you make of this chance? Because that was pretty close, and we know that Brennan Johnson has been on such a great goal-scoring run.
If he had trained a lot more headers, he could have had 3 goals, because there is another opportunity, I believe something like 96th minute, where he also has an opportunity. 96 minutes, he has an opportunity. So I counted that he had 3 opportunities with headers, 22nd, 27, and 96th. I think that Johnson is actually kind of coming into his prime. We see what he's like now when he has confidence. He's always had the ability to make the runs and be in space, but sometimes he doesn't have the confidence to pull the trigger or beat his men. But now that he's got a run of like 6 or 7 goals in a row, you can see what a player with confidence has, and when he deactivates his social media. But even if he's not scoring goals, he's still creating chances. He's creating a problem for opposition defenders. That's the important thing. If you have Werner running down the flank, the defenders like, whatever, right? But Johnson's running down the flank, defenders know that he scored 7 games in a row. They're going to pay more attention to him, and it pulls them over their side. So I think the important thing about Johnson is that he's informed, he's a threat. And so even if he doesn't score, he's giving defenders something to think about, and they worry about him, and it creates space for everyone else. Even with Solanke, it's the same thing. So I think that Solanke and Johnson are in a good run of form. Even if they're not scoring goals, they're creating problems for defenders.
Ricky, let's come to you. Spurs actually had our first shot on target in the 34th minute through Pedro Porro from 25 yards out, goalkeeper equal to it. And then Kulusevski equalised for Spurs in the 36th minute. What a great hit. James Maddison, of course, assisting, but hit one post, hit the other post, went in. Talk us through the finish from Kulusevski, because, as we've already mentioned, he's been on fire this season.
Oh, he's been on fire, but it was such a deserved goal as well, because he was the one that was driving. He was the one that was really determined to make something else happen and to get us back into the game. And so it was a fantastic move to get us up that pitch. But what a lovely kind of touch and shot just to get away from the West Ham defender. And then the fact that it hit one post and the other, I swear to you, as it was rolling across the line, I'm like, oh, it's going. It's not going to be given. Like it's going to miss the line. Do you know what I mean? And then it just trickled and kept spinning and hit that other post and then bundled in. And I was ecstatic back here. I was shouting the house down. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, super well deserved by Kulu, and super well deserved by the team as well, because everybody reacted properly. Again, like I said, twice already, they didn't emotionally react. We professionally reacted, and we was like, we're not going to stop our principles. We're not going to stop the way that we play. We're actually going to increase what we do and go and get not only the equalizer, but the rest that comes from that. I mean, Kulu said in that same interview, he said as soon as we got to 1-1, he knew that we was going to win. Like, he felt it in his stomach. He just knew that we could handle what West Ham brought to the table, and that we could actually win and dominate up front. And that's what's happened. But it all started with that Kulu goal, and the fact that he was just so dynamic throughout the game, but especially after we conceded the first goal. Absolutely dynamite by Kulu. And like I say, well deserved. He could have got a couple more as well, And like I said, I think there's more to come from Kulu. I think there's so much more to come from Kulu. He's been fantastic. Not only, like you said there earlier about the Man United game, created 9 chances in that game. You know, one of the highest people to have done that. And you look at him today, not only creator, but to be able to put the ball in the back of the net as well. Come on, Kulu. Come on, you Spurs.
I think an important thing to add to that as well is that when people talk about us having a plan B, they're thinking about it as like you just flip on the plan B and then you magically don't concede goals. But we've had 2 plan B managers that played defensively counter-attacking football for 2 seasons, and that didn't work out too well. So plan B doesn't come without trade-offs. The thing about plan B is that it means that you're cutting off all chances or a lot of chances of scoring, and your chances of, you have like 1 or 2 chances that you can score a game, and that's fine when your strikers are Harry Kane and Son Heung-min, who are the best, like, you know, highest XG above. They score higher than the XG they have all the time. Yeah, exactly. But then when you don't have that kind of partnership or that kind of goal efficiency, if you play plan B style, you're basically saying, I'm going to be content with 2 chances a game, and if I miss those 2 chances, I don't win the game. What we're doing is we're creating 7, 8, 9 chances a game, and we might not score all of them. We might concede some, but it always gives us a higher opportunity of scoring, and we're not out of the game, even if we have 10 men or 9 men.
Craig, let's come to you. In the 43rd minute, you doggy cross to Pedro Porro just over the bar. So unlucky with that chance. And at half time, of course, it was 1-1. Maddison went off, Sarr came on. In the opening 45 minutes, Spurs had 61% of the ball, had 12 shots, 2 on target. West Ham had 6 shots, 2 on target. How are you feeling at that point at half-time?
Quite relaxed, if I'm honest, because I just knew we was going to be getting back into that game. We were, of course, by that point, we're at 1-1. I was as confident as you can be, being a Tottenham fan, that we were going to go on and win that in the second half. I really was. It's a really strange sort of sensation. I wasn't panicky. I wasn't nervous about West Ham, getting another goal in the breakaway. I just thought we had the game under control. Just really did feel it was just a matter of time till we scored again, which of course we did fairly swiftly, and then went on to absolutely, like Ange said, just blow them away in that second half. And that is what we're capable of if people trust this process, And we're going to get more like this. We're going to get upsets. We are going to get upsets and bumps and frustration again, because that's football. But hopefully we're going to get more smiley faces than the miserable faces going forward, because the more they play it, the more it's going to be muscle memory to these players. And you play like that every week, there's not many teams in the Premier League that are going to be able to live with you.
You know what, as well, before the end of that first half, Sonny had a chance as well to make it 2-1 to go into the second leading.
Yeah.
So, I had that confidence as well, Craig.
Yeah.
Craig, what did you make of West Ham today?
I just don't think we gave them the opportunity to play well. Let me say that.
I asked you this question because I know you've got a lot of West Ham friends. I know that we have some West Ham viewers. So tell them what you thought of their team today.
I'm always concerned. I've said before, I'm always concerned about what West Ham's going to turn up, because this is their biggest game of the season. Regardless of what they say, this is our cup final. It's not. It's West Ham's cup final. It is. And to get a victory at our stadium is that would be like us winning at the Emirates, I suppose. We'd be obviously extremely upset to lose to West Ham at our own stadium, but it wouldn't hurt as much as perhaps an Arsenal or Chelsea. But it would hurt. Of course it would. But I just think we were the better team today. I don't think we gave them the opportunity to play. Antonio is always the one that seems to have a good game against us. I like Antonio. I do, as a player. He's not the most talented centre forward in the world, but you always get a shift out of him. And I thought he would be occupying our centre backs all game. He likes to pull out wide. But I don't think we just gave them the opportunity to do that. I thought a lot of their players didn't have good games, but that again was on Tottenham bossing that midfield. So I just don't think we gave them the opportunity to express themselves, which is a sign of a good performance.
Dustin, let's come to you. Of course, we've already mentioned that Maddison went off at half-time. Pablo Matar came on. It was a really good start to the second half because, of course, we scored 3 goals in the matter of 8 minutes. First up, in the 52nd minute, it was Udogie assisting Yves Bissouma. Yves Bissouma on the score sheet again for Spurs. What did you make of this goal?
Well, this goal was a work of art because what it is it's like we're pulling defenders into the left half space, and then Yves Bissouma is ghosting in late arrival to the box, and Destiny just finds him, and he's got all the time in the world to just pick the bottom corner. So I think that this is a return to the Ange football we saw in like the first 11 games of his reign, where we had Udogie getting into those kinds of positions. Because I remember like the first 11 games, right? We would have goals coming from Udogie cutting it back, Porro cutting it back. And I think this is a return to that kind of chance creation where we're giving defenders a lot more to worry about and pulling them into one direction because it releases players in another location that are free to take a shot.
Ricky, let's come to you. Of course, Spurs went 3-1 up in the 55th minute. Heung-min Son had a shot, and then somehow it went off of Todibo, putting us 3-1 up, an own goal. What do you make of this one? Because, like you said earlier about Heung-min Son in the starting 11, I don't know what it is. I just feel so much more confident when he's there.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. But, you know, the Bissouma goal and that move, again, brought the energy. It brought the belief again. And it brought that determination, like, let's go. And I think that, you know, we've missed out on a couple of opportunities where we could have scored 2 or 3 in 5 minutes. You know, we've definitely created the chances, but it happened today. And I think Sonny was that catalyst as well, that he was a man possessed today to kind of get that ball through. And yes, it was, I think it was an Areola own goal it ended up being given to, but the way that he kind of sold the defenders, and yes, there was a bit of a deflection there, but he was just determined to get it through. It was absolutely, you know, he was the captain back at home, you know, back on the pitch, and he wanted to show everybody and himself that, you know, he's back and he's scoring and he's dangerous. Absolutely again. I mean, I totally agree with what Craig and Dustin were saying there about him looking sharper. I think the rest has definitely done him well. The lack of air miles in the last couple of weeks has definitely done him well. And you can see that he was back and he was frustrated. I think he was frustrated that he wasn't able to help us in those last couple of games, you know, before the international break. So he wanted to just come back and show us, and he did. And he hit the ground running, and he hit West Ham with a bang. You know, on that first goal for Bissouma, by the way, it was the turn of Udogie. The ball by Son was exquisite, right? Outside of the boot, but it was a turn. How many times have we seen someone like Maddison who would get it in that position and look to try and score from that acute angle? But the fact that, you know, Udogie took it, chopped it, and then found Bissouma running in plenty of space, plenty of time to take that shot, again, fantastic. But Sonny I love Sonny. Sonny's a captain fantastic, you know, for me. When he plays well, we play well. And I think he's, you know, what a classy guy and what a beautiful kind of captain to have there, you know, because everything that he does is by example. He never leaves anything on that field. Yes, sometimes he might not have the greatest of games, but that's allowed. You know, he's not a robot. But the majority of time, if you're going to put your money on anyone, you put it on Sonny. And I'm just, you know, I'm just so happy that not only that one, but the one that came a bit later as well.
Ricky, you're absolutely right. Inside the stadium, they gave it as a Todibo own goal, but you're absolutely right. They've actually credited it as an Areola own goal, so you're right. Craig, let's come to you. Let's talk about Tottenham's 4th goal of the afternoon. Heung-min Son, of course, Pape Matar assisted, but a good finish again from our South Korean star.
Yeah, it's vintage Sonny, isn't it? You know, that, you know, step over, take it on the outside, finish with his weaker foot, even, you know, if you can call his weaker foot his left foot. We're so used to this. And it, like I say, it's that little bit extra fitness and speed to get themselves in those positions and have a shot, which we haven't actually seen as much this season. People are calling out, why isn't Son doing this? Well, he's done it today. He did it a few times. Great performance. I think slightly just after this, he had the opportunity to make it a hat trick. Such a shame he didn't get his hat trick. typical that I'd taken him out of my my fantasy team and forgot to put him back in. So that's typical. I was celebrating because he got 2 goals, and then my son checked and he said, no, you haven't got Son in anymore. So it's just typical. But there you go. Must be an age thing. I forgot to do it. I don't actually know what I'm doing with it, to be honest. So I know Ricky's top of our league. He obviously knows what he's doing. So, yeah.
I haven't even checked, mate. I haven't even checked.
Yeah, of course you haven't. Yeah, you're like Micah Richards. You're on it 4 times a day, sitting in your sex chair there, checking your fantasy football. No, look, it's just great to have Sonny back, and hopefully, look, we keep him fit, because when he plays like that, he's unplayable.
Dustin, let's come to you. Heung-min Son hit the post in the 61st minute, so it could have been 5-1 at that point. But a couple of minutes later, West Ham did have a chance. Kudus had a chance, and Udogie cleared it off the line. How important is a player like Destiny Udogie? Because if he was to get injured, suspended, whatever, who would you replace him with in that position? Because I feel like he is a very, very important player for us right now.
He is a player that we have very little cover for. I think the closest that we have is Jet Spence, and Jet Spence was injured today. So I think we're realizing how threadbare the squad can be. We can have a great first 11, but I think a big part of what made us dominant in the Pochettino era was that we had adequate backup for. You had at least 2 players for every position. In certain positions, we had 3. So I think a lot of the squad building is about offloading players that we don't need, or basically players that take up a slot that isn't homegrown. But I think we need to think a lot more about our squad building and taking minutes off people. And that means that you're taking minutes off first teamers, but the quality doesn't dip enough that the team suffers from it. So I know that there's been a lot of criticism for Werner as well, but we had a freak incident where Son, Odebear, and everyone on left wing was injured at the same time. So Werner ended up getting minutes. So while Werner is a player that has divided opinion and he's not been very confident with his chances, we ended up needing that depth in the end. So I think that similarly with Udogie, if we don't have Jet Spence fit, then we basically get to Ben Davies, who's been a great servant to the club, but he's not what you would consider to be what you need for going for the Champions League or going for the title. So we definitely need depth in December for certain positions where we're looking a bit thin.
Ricky, let's come to you in the 67th minute. Brennan Johnson had a chance on target, goalkeeper saved it. A couple of minutes before that, Kulusevski had a shot just wide. And then on the 70th minute mark, Heung-min Son came off, Timo Werner came on. Just wanted to get your opinion on Brennan Johnson, on the turnaround of his season, on the turnaround of his form, on the turnaround of him this season to last, because he was being heavily criticised by a lot of our own fans. But when a player turns it around this much, that they're getting into goal scoring positions, scoring as much as he has in the last couple of months, it's incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. It is incredible. But I think he's a great example of the team, the manager, the seasons that we're having. You can't write off certain players that have come in and not hit the ground running. They've been bought for a reason. Patience is key. Support is key. And I think his turnaround is very similar to what the team's turnaround is going to be as well. If given that patience, if given that belief, if given that support, I think not only him, but everybody can rise to the level that they want to be at and play at the level that they want to play at. Brennan has done fantastic. We know about the stick that he was getting. We know that we've got a really young side. So again, examples, of not kicking a man when he's down, and especially those young ones that live and breathe online. They can't help it. They've grown up with it. You can go out right now and see kids in a pram, and they've either got their mum's iPhone or phone in their hand, or an iPad or something. From young, they're learning how to swipe and find YouTube and find the Chris Cowlin channel. And do you know what I mean? From young, they're doing it, right? But it's an example that someone like like Brennan and the rest of this young squad, they're going to be on it, and they're going to be, it's part of their life. they're not going to be able to run away from it. But the fact that he could block it off and just solely focus on his football and doing what he wants to do on the pitch has been a phenomenal turnaround. Long may this continue. Long may he build on this. And, you know, just because he didn't score today doesn't mean that run of form is over or it's going to go backwards. I still think it's going forwards. I felt today that he had another confident game, a confident display. And you can see that by the passes that he's getting from his teammates and stuff like that. They're putting him in positions. They're trusting him there. The one thing that I wanted for Brennan was, as a fan, to be excited when I see his name on the team sheet. And at this present time, I'm very excited to see his name on the team sheet. Not only do I expect to see a performance from him, but like there's a possibility of a goal and there's possibilities of things happening with him in the side. And I think the fan base as well is getting that way. I think that wave of energy is rolling through the fan base. Good morning to those in Melbourne right now at 2 a.m. in the morning. Love every single time. We love your work. But yeah, I think that Brennan is an example of all of these players. You know, don't write them off too quickly. Give them support. Trust that the manager, especially if the manager's identified a player, trust that it's going to come to fruition. Same as Dom Solanke. I couldn't believe the criticism that he was getting first 3 games and he'd only played 1. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, oh, you spent 65 million. It was a narrative that wanted to speak about negativity and to put a negative outlook out there on socials and in the news and you know, and all the sports channels, etc. like that. It was a negative narrative that they wanted to kind of portray, but thank goodness it hasn't been taken on by these boys. In fact, that they've gone out there to prove all of those critics wrong. And again, long may that continue. Don't listen to the noise. Do not listen to the noise. This is the message to the boys. Do you know what I mean? Don't listen to that noise. Trust in what you're doing, because you've seen that if you believe and you continue to play the same way and you don't drop off like we did against Brighton and you don't do these things, if you continue with the philosophy and the instructions that the manager and the coaches have put forward, then our glory is going to come. Then the reward for all of the risk that we play with will come.
Ricky, sorry, go on.
Sorry to interrupt. I think a big part of like fans' expectations as well comes from the transfer fee, but I think that is not a good way of labeling expectation onto a player, because they don't really have much to do with the transfer fee. A lot of the time, transfer fees are inflated because it's the English tax, or you know, just that the Premier League has the most money, and then we've got ridiculous transfer fees on players now, primarily because the English league has more money than any other league. That's why all these transfer fees are high. It's not a judgment on the player's quality as much as it is, oh, an English club is coming for our player. It's time to squeeze all the money we can out of them. We already have a great negotiator in Daniel Levy that brings the transfer fees as low as we can, but we're still going to get charged a lot more just because English clubs have the most money. So it's unfair to use that as a stick to beat a player with, particularly if he's not necessarily the kind of player that thrives off that kind of tension. There are different kinds of players. Some do well under stress, some don't. And I think that as fans, as supporters, it should be positive sum. You should be helping the player get to their best qualities. And if the attention that we're paying to them doesn't help them, then we're not really supporting, are we?
Yeah. And I think there's a hangover as well. There's a hangover from players like Ndombele, Lo Celso, and you know, some would say Richarlison as well, where we've gone out there and spent big, but then we haven't got the return on them, sort of thing. So I think there's a hangover of that. We wasted money again. But I think you're absolutely right, Dustin. I think you're absolutely right. You've got to take those transfer fees out of the equation. You've got to look at the fact that the manager and the scouting team have identified a player that they feel that they could have that can affect the way that we play and also encourage the philosophy of the way that we play. And with a little bit of time, patience, we're seeing it. We're seeing it all over the pitch. There was criticism for Pap Sarr when we got him. Oh, why are we loaning him back? Oh, what's he going to do? You're seeing it. That your doggy, there was, you know, why are we spending this amount of money? You know, and people was using examples of like Brian Hill and stuff like that. But Brian, okay, cool. There was a little bit of a mistake there with Brian. What's going on, Sunshine? Come on, you Spurs. There was a little bit of a hangover there with Brian Hill. Okay, maybe we made a bit of a mistake there, but just because of the leagues, he plays better in the Spanish league than he can in the Premier League. But the majority of them have turned up to be the right people in the right positions, and it's turned out to be money well invested. So, again, Dustin, great points, brother.
Absolutely. I feel like all three of you are on fire today, like the squad today.
Come on.
Ricky, I know you've never, ever given me a quick yes or no, but please do so today. Stuart said...
I bet he can't. I bet he can't.
I bet he can't.
I bet you can't.
Let's put the bets in now.
Question for the panel, and I'm going to give it to you, Ricky. Can Timo Werner do a Brennan Johnson? Yes or no?
No. I don't think so.
There we go.
I'm trying so hard to keep it one word. I can't do it. It's hurting me so much.
Craig,
okay, fine. Okay, we all know it was going to happen. The reason that I say no is because I think Timo is an experienced player. You all know it. I think Timo's an experienced player that has had this hanging over him for a lot of seasons right now. He's played in Germany. He's played in the Premier League. He's played for the national team. And there has been this hangover of form and output for a long time. So I think that Ange thinks that he can do it. I hope that he can have the turnaround. But I think he's almost stuck in quicksand at the minute. I really hope that he gets out of it. But I think he's stuck in quicksand right now. And I think that probably by January, his loan will probably be coming to its end, and we're going to go in another direction. Once Odebear's fit and the rest of the boys are fit, I don't even know if he gets on the bench. So, no.
Thank you.
I mean, I think there's a reason it's a loan, right? If we had signed him, then we'd be stuck with him. But he's on a loan, meaning that we can cancel the loan in January. And then if we have Odebear back, we have Moore, we have Son, we have basically 3 first-teamers on that flank.
Craig, let's come to you. In the 81st minute, Richarlison came on. Got a huge cheer when he was warming up, by the way, mid-game, and Solanke went off. Just want to get your opinion on Dominic Solanke's performance today and so far this season, and also to discuss how great it is having another option, i.e. Richarlison, on the bench, so those two can switch, because, of course, we've got games coming up thick and fast in the next couple of months. So I'm sure that both players will get a lot of game time.
Yeah, great to see Richarlison back. I've always said I don't think he's the answer, but he is a proper centre forward, at least at a direct swap. We haven't got shoehorn players into positions there, and just came on today and immediately had an impact. He got involved. The S-Houser he loves. Good to see him straight in there doing that. Look, we're going to need him over the next few weeks. Some Europa League games coming up. I would imagine if he's fit enough, he will start on Thursday. I think Solanke, like I said earlier, his movement, his touches. Sometimes as a centre forward, it's what you don't do, or what people, it's off the ball stuff. Moving players out of positions to make spaces. It does go unnoticed by a lot of people, and strikers are judged on their goals. Don't get me wrong, that's their primary job to score the goals, but don't discount the hard work he puts in, the holding the ball up, moving off the ball, creating spaces for others. I thought it was a really good performance from Solanke, a very solid performance. I'm very unlucky not to score, to be honest. A couple of tap-ins on another day would have fallen to him. To have Richarlison back is great. Like I say, we're almost at a fully fit squad now, with Odebear hopefully just a week or two away. It is interesting. Going back to what Ricky's question was about Werner, what happens to Werner? I would imagine Odebear's got the nod on him there. Like I say, we've got some games coming up, some big games coming up, some winnable games coming up. So I would imagine Werner will be third choice on the left. Whether Son will start Thursday, I don't know. I would imagine he won't. But yeah, it's just great to have 2 fit centre forwards. Let's, fingers crossed that lasts for the rest of the season.
Absolutely, games are coming thick and fast, as we've both said, and Ange Postecoglou has had so many injury problems since he arrived last year. Craig, let's stick with you for a second because in the 86th minute, Kudus got a red card. Talk us through this incident because it went to VAR. The referee then went over to the screen. He then changed his opinion and then gave him a red card. Talk us through it.
Well, you could argue that I would say the 2 kicks he gave Mickey van der Ven when he's on the floor, probably a yellow. I mean, it wasn't that bad. I've seen worse than that. The slap, he's raised his hands, and I thought the letter of the law, the one on Van der Ven I'm talking about, I thought the letter of the law, that should have been a red card for that. Raise your hands, you're off. Mickey did push him, probably a yellow, 100%. But the slap, I don't know how Richarlison ended up on the floor. I think he said Kudos sort of like looked like he headbutted him, and I think he made the most of it. But of course, the slap on Pat Matasara, I don't know how he got involved in that. 100% a red card. I'm not quite sure how the referee missed that. I know there was a total melee of players around, but he was looking right at it. But I know these things happen quite quickly. But yeah, VAR got that spot on. It was a red card. The referee obviously looked at it and quite quickly overturned the yellow and turned it into a straight red. So he's going to miss 3 games now. I know Brennan Johnson, fair play to him. He was really getting involved in that. And I won't say what he said to Kudos as he walked past him, but I'm sure everybody watching on the telly, you don't have to be an expert lip reader to be able to see that. So watch out for that on Match of the Day later if they show that. That was quite amusing.
Dustin, let's come to you. Of course, we have games coming up thick and fast. On Thursday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we play AZ Alkmaar in the Europa League. Of course, Spurs have won 2 out of 2 in the Europa League so far. Alkmaar have won 1 and they have lost 1. And then next Sunday, back in the Premier League, away at Crystal Palace. And then the following Wednesday, back here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. So 3 big games coming up. What changes do you feel that Ange Postecoglou will make on Thursday?
On Thursday, I believe we will probably see more of I wouldn't say the kids because they may be young in age, but like they clearly have earned their stripes. So I would expect to see Gray, possibly Bergvall, Mikey Moore. And I think that it's been good to give them that exposure because essentially when they've had to step up in main games, they haven't looked lost. I think that there's only so much you can do by throwing on an entire Team B, where it's a bunch of people that have not even played first 11 football together before. And then you throw them on in the Europa League like we did, I think, was it against Coventry? When we did that, it did not end well. So I think that we do need to have more of our first 11 in the team and just replacing parts of a system. So you might have Dragusin in there, but you still got the rest of the back 3. You might throw in Mikey Moore there, but you've still got everyone else on the left wing that's first 11. So that rather than you're putting an entire group of players on trial, you're actually integrating someone that is a squad player and allowing them to level up into, probably first 11 inclusion. So I would go with like minor changes from our first 11 and just integrating more players to take minutes off players that have been overplayed. It'll be nice to see Kulu get a bit of a rest because we don't want him to get injured. And just take minutes off our players that have been playing a lot of first 11 football, keeping them fresh, especially if you have them playing against Crystal Palace or Man City.
Dustin, the Wednesday the 30th of October game against Manchester City, go strong?
Well, look, if we want to win the cups, and if Ange is saying that he always wins something in the second season, unless he's telling us he's going for the league, then go strong, go for first 11. Why not? If it's against City, it's your last chance, right? So just do it. You've got to beat the best to win a title anyway. So why not?
Ricky, it's a tough schedule, isn't it? Europa League, Premier League, then League Cup. Of course, all of us fans want a trophy after 16 plus long years. Same question to you. Go strong in that Manchester City game, and also let's get your opinion on the Ange Postecoglou team selection ahead of Thursday. What do you think he'll do?
Yeah, I mean, against AZ, we've got to remember that they are a very kind of technical team as well. We've played Dutch sides in the past before, and, regardless of how you would judge their players. They've always come, ready to fight and ready to win. So whoever we put forward, and I think it's going to be a bit of a mix and match, but whoever we put forward need to be taking it very, very seriously. And again, that's one of the most encouraging things that I've seen with those that have come in. They've all looked to take their chance. They've all looked to grab their opportunity. So it's another opportunity for those players that do come in to grab that opportunity. And we need them fully focused on the job. I agree with kind of giving Kulu a rest and maybe kind of starting someone like Maddison, who's come off at halftime today, gives him an opportunity to, get back in favour and to have a game full of influence and a game like he had, not Brighton, but the game before that, he was dynamite, Man United. So, yeah, I think that it's going to be a mix and match against AZ, but I think you've got to go full strength with Man City, being at home. The Crystal Palace game in the league is still in London, so there ain't massive travel expectations there or exertions there. So go full out against Palace and go full out against Man City. Pep has already said that he's going to be playing the second team. Not that should affect what we do. I think we should go out there in a cup competition to go and show our mettle and to go and show everybody what we're about. And it's another opportunity to create that belief in the system and the philosophy and the fact that we're going forward. We don't want to be knocked out early. Yes, Man City is always a tough game, but we always have a good game against them. So it's about kind of being up for the challenge, being up for the test. It is a tough schedule, but this is what we wanted, and this is what the boys wanted, and this is what the manager wanted. We wanted to be busy. Last year was rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Not having midweek games. Last year was terrible, kind of just sitting on a defeat for the whole week and just waiting until the next one. Do you know what I mean? So now we've got these games. We're in these cup competitions. It's about us being professional, and it's about us showing everybody that we are taking these cup competitions very seriously.
Craig, when we talk about Ange Postecoglou's game management, he took Heung-min Son off today at 70 minutes. Would you expect him, after spending so long out injured, would you expect him now to start the game against AZ on Thursday?
I doubt it. I don't think he will. We might come on and give him a half hour, 20 minutes at the end. I think that you just got to look after him. He's 32 years old. I think they're just going to ease him back into this. He's obviously fit enough to start today. Great performance, but we don't want to overplay him. So I think we should have enough to get past Alkmaar, whoever that may be, taking this position, whether it's Odegaard or even Werner. I think you could see Maddison start, like Ricky said there. Only 45 minutes today. I think that would be that's quite in a way that's good because it worked today taking Maddison off. So you could see he was damn fed up to be took off, but he's got another chance. That's a good thing. Like you say, these games come thick and fast. He's got a good chance in 3 or 4 days' time to put that right. I think he will start and perhaps, like you say, rest Kulusevski. That's a great thing. Such a shame that Spence isn't in that Europa squad. I know he's got a small knock at the moment. I think he could have got a lot of game time there. So it looks like we're going to have to play a doggy unless he's going to sling Ben Davies in at left back. But there will be a few changes on Thursday. But like, just jump in on the Man City question. I know you're about to get evicted from the stadium, Chris, so I'll keep it as short as I can. The City game, I would love to see us go full strength. I really would, but I don't see it. I think there will be changes. I just hope if he makes changes, I hope he gives us a real shot at it, because City are going to be there for the taking as much as City can be. They're clearly not going to put out a full strength team. I think if we do put out full strength, we'll beat them. If there's too many changes, I think we could fall down. But I just hope and pray that he does go full strength there.
Let's do score predictions. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Spurs win on Thursday. Craig, what are you going to go for?
3-1 Tottenham.
Dustin?
2-1 Spurs.
Ricky?
I'm going with Craig, 3-1.
3-1. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for coming back on the Spurs Chat Podcast. Absolute pleasure having you here. And as I said, your performances have been absolutely superb, on par with Tottenham Hotspur's performance today. Thank you so much. Where can people find you? What you're up to?
people know where they can find me. I'll be on here. Do you know what I mean? I'll probably get, what was it, AZ? You'll find me here. You'll always find me with Chris and Craig, and it was great to be on with Dustin as well. I'm keeping busy. There's been plenty of things that I've been doing, and you know, when there's something solid to say, I'll let you know. But yeah, man, always an honor and a pleasure to be on, especially after a win against West Ham, and especially on a pod where everybody's smiling and positive, and the vibe is here. What a great way to kick off our Saturday. We are all going to have a fantastic weekend. So from Australia to the UK and around the world, I thank you all for the love and support. You guys are amazing. What a great pod, and I can't wait for the next one.
And of course, from Singapore as well, Dustin. We were actually the #1 football podcast in Singapore, Dustin. So keep spreading the word for us. Thank you. Great to have you here, Dustin. We look forward to having you on again very soon. Where can people find you?
They can find me here because I'm very bad at spelling it. So it's Luminor Spurs.
Dustin, thank you so much. And Craig, enjoy your takeaway or whatever you're doing, because I know you've got to rush off now. Thank you so much.
Drinking.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. It's been a good weekend. We're all going to enjoy it. We're all going to enjoy the weekend. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for all of your incredible support, as always. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. Come on, you Spurs.
Come
on, you.